Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dan Around Yak's Ben, with a fantastic show for you. Living World Season 3 trailer, it's Hammer Time in WvW World, and PvP goals, and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow host. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion. With the Surans returning to Rata Novus, could history repeat itself with a big monster on campus? Can we help the Asurans walk the talk? Say hello to Jim.
I'd never heard of those two movies before you linked them in the intro.
Me neither.
I need to get up on my Chris Pratt and Ryan Reynolds stuff at this point. So
yeah, I'm kind of excited. I think we'd never used those before, so yay. And he writes over on his blog, agegaming.wordpress.com, where he answers the age-old question, with the content light at the end of the tunnel, what will the history books remember about this content drought? Say hello to Age.
It will never, ever happen again, hopefully. But
hopefully.
I won't hold my breath. So,
is that a joke with the content drought? Like you won't hold your breath? Like no. I'm sorry.
Oh wow! No, I'm turning into you. Oh.
Welcome. I'm like, wait, does that make me more Dramoth? He lives. He lives in. I'm not finishing that sentence on the internet. All right, let's jump right into it. If you haven't been around this week, or maybe with all this content drought we've been talking about, kind of walked away from Guild Wars 2 for a little bit, get ready to come back, because they gave us a teaser trailer on Tuesday. It was showing off Living Story Season 3, and as you can see right here, they kind of gave us this headline, or this image first off from their Twitter, and I believe the chapter is called Out of the Shadows, is episode 1, which, as you can see right there, releases on July 26th. Some of us made promises about that kind of a thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Possibly look forward to us talking about that eventually. But let's look at the trailer that they released. Basically, you know, it's kind of interesting. The beginning scenes are kind of scenes that we've seen in past Living Story stuff, or in like the Heart of Thorns trailer or stuff like that. But like as you can see, there's the pack ship going towards what looks like Maguma. It's basically giving a recap of Heart of Thorns, and leading into Heart of Thorns as well.
Isn't the only new stuff at the end?
Yes. But I felt like we should show it all for people.
Well, it's the voiceover is slightly different, giving a small recap.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting talking about how all the people are coming together, as you're seeing here, and with a couple of people returning and also losing some people. So, I guess if you don't know this by now, if you don't have Heart of Thorns or are trying to avoid spoilers, this trailer does have spoilers. I mean, with the content drought and stuff, if you haven't got around to it, and I know financial situations might not let you, but it's time for the story to move on, and because I know a lot of people were angry about them showing spoilers for story content that's pretty soloable. I mean, there's some rough spots depending on what
it's
profession.
all soloable.
Yes, there can be a little tougher rough spots, but if you had 2 people, you could easily blow through it. Now, if you're going for achievements, then yes, some of them you might need 5 people.
If you had 2 people and one of them was a Sylvari, don't accidentally kill your friend.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, I learned that part, right?
That's important.
You'll see here shortly, it's going to cut to, like, you know, it's one of those ones that has it at the end after this title card, or after this news card. But as you can see, it's a big explosion with what looks like a ship, which we can definitely talk about, heading towards the explosion and fighting.
Looks like it's about to get creamed by that giant piece of rock.
Yeah. So it's definitely interesting. I mean, what do you guys think about this trailer overall?
I was kind of worried it would just all be a rehash while I was watching it the first time. I'm happy it wasn't. The that little bit of new blip at the end was kind of interesting, and I think I was more excited by the fact that it's like, hey, I've got another 2 weeks to wait, and there's going to be more story. I think that's what was more exciting about it. Apparently, the Cape faction on Twitter is like, the preview image has capes. We're getting capes.
Oh,
I think it's
maybe
just people are so desperate that they're looking for anything. But
yeah, and chat's kind of saying it is pretty much a rehash of stuff, but yeah, really the only thing that it is new that we haven't seen is that literally that end part right there, which we'll definitely explore that more. But
I do have something on top of that after Age gives his opinion.
I was just happy I got a date, to be honest, because I have something to look forward to now.
Were you really hoping for August 1st?
It's okay, don't worry.
I'm almost glad I wasn't here, so I didn't have to bet anything.
But
I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
But the thing that gets me is I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. lately, and I remember when the whole call went out for the Hydra agents to reactivate the coded transmission was out of the shadows and into the light. I was talking with Krista about it, and I'm wondering, and she brought it up, what if there are White Mantle agents inside the Shining Blade?
It would be interesting. I mean, they do talk, I think in the raid or something or somewhere, they just say you don't realize how many people, it might have been in like some of the texts around the raid, or I just remember hearing about it, that it's like you don't really realize how many people are, infiltrated. And you kind of realize that in your personal story as a human if you pick the, I think,
the
parents, or the noble, okay.
Orphan, sorry, no, you were right,
okay.
Parents. If you're an orphan, your parents were both Shining Blade operatives. I wonder if that's going to give me anything different during this. With my elementalist.
So. Like maybe like a little like dialogue option or like a scrap of paper, or chat is agreeing, is saying it is orphan. But some general information about it, like we said, episode 1, Out of the Shadows. You do need Heart of Thorns to play Living World Season 3, but able to play is the important part. All players, whether you have Heart of Thorns, which is the expansion, or not, can unlock each Living World Season 3 episode for free by logging in between an episode's release and the release of the next episode, which I think they did say that they're planning on each episode being lasting for like 2 to 3 months. I don't think they gave it an exact time, but
yeah, it's 2-3 months. They said on their post.
Okay, and so basically you have about 2 to 3 months to get just log in. You don't have to play anything. You don't have to activate anything. It's literally logging in on a character, like go into a map, not just the character select. Log into the game, and you get this for free, and you have a 2 to 3-ish month grace period. It's similar to what they had in Season 2, but like we said, those were 2 weeks usually. This is a lot more. So we're really glad that, that's the case. We were suspecting that it would be, but prior to this, all we knew that they said was you would be required to have Heart of Thorns. So I really can't think that this is just such a great thing.
It would be unnecessarily punishing to people who didn't own Heart of Thorns at the time, and it would probably be really hard to get them to convert. And it's like, so what you're telling me is not only do I have to buy the game, then I also have to buy the Living World stuff that I missed.
Yeah, especially, and the worst thing is, it's like I would have to pay the stuff that I missed, but I technically was here. So, yeah, and that's why I'm saying I'm glad ArenaNet went this way. They've usually been very, I think, fair with their customers about this kind of stuff, because honestly, I could see other companies going, no, it requires Heart of Thorns. This is Heart of Thorns afterwards content, like to try, like as a company, try to push sales. But they're like, I think they understand and probably have heard about the whole, with the issue with Season 2. A lot of people bought the actually the new box version that has the core game and Heart of Thorns, but it's like, oh yeah, you'd have to buy Season 2. And a lot of people are like, wait, what? But I literally bought everything around it, but you didn't give me that. Like, you basically give me the 2 pieces of bread and no meat of the sandwich, which I'm not saying Season 2 is the meat of but as the analogy of the thing that's in the middle.
I think that's getting away from you.
Yes.
Mm.
Maybe
Yeah.
Oreo cookie. Hmm.
The quintuple stuffed ones.
Okay. Anyway, the other thing that can distract me instead of lore. Um, so, but interestingly enough, if you haven't purchased season 2 yet, you can get that in the Gemstore for 40% off, and in that bundle version, which is a flux bundle. So if you have other pieces of season 2, it will adjust the price for you, so you won't waste gems by buying it. And that is up until season 3 hits, which is July 22nd or 26th. Wow, I won it earlier. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Before we get back to the trailer, they were saying that other news sites like Massively OP, MMO Bomb, stuff like places like that were actually, I guess, now allowed to talk about it. This is the stuff they were talking about at E3, I'm assuming. Apparently, there's going to be a new fractal, and I don't know if it's for like launched with this or just in coming up. I don't think they specified that necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But it is called.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
We don't know yet. It's just news from E3, pretty much.
Yeah. So supposedly the new fractal will be called Chaos Isle, which is interesting. They actually said it won't be a single complete story, but the start of a new arc that will parallel the main season 3 plot. So that's interesting that we're getting more story alongside. That's, for the 5-man players. And I mean, it is kind of worrying because this is also what they said for raids.
They want the lore people in fractals now. They want you in there.
That's true. Giving more engagement through story is always a good thing. Like, I will never complain about that in any format. I don't know, like they really can't give a story in WvW PvP because it's the whole reason for it is it's the mist lull. Like, that's really it. So that having the fractals have some kind of parallel. I mean, what if the fractal is, hey, Scarlet won?
Or, Chaos Isle. I'm just going to get out of the way here for everybody. In Nightfall, we had Chaos Rifts, Abaddon. There we go. It went back to Abaddon. So let's focus back on the...
Wow.
Had to be done.
You had that planned, didn't you?
No, of course not. I had it planned like Abaddon the whole time. Anyway, okay.
But if it ties somehow into the main story and it's like, hey, now we're actually exploring, like, there's nothing that really tells us anything about the fractals except talking to Dessa. It's, hey, yeah, all of these fractals are basically like points in time where stuff happened, and it's either just our timeline or other timelines or just things that might have happened. Yeah. So it's just these weird pocket dimensions right now. If they actually give us some kind of story reason to them, and you walk into it and it's like, hey, we're trying to find out what the hell is happening next, maybe Dessa can point us at a fractal that is somewhen related to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So there's that.
What do you think could possibly come out of it, Age?
I'm not sure. It's.
I bet you're more excited about the other thing that they were talking about, to be fair.
But yeah, I think it'll be more like DS is going to be a little bit more involved with this kind of fractal, because fractals are surrounding that NPC the most of all, and it's an arcing story. So I'm not sure. It really depends what the plot of season 3 is. So.
We gotta get her out of the fractals. Gotta save her.
Quite possibly.
But the one thing I thought you might be interested in was the revamped SPVP map. So for people that don't know, did it even last a year? Like, it was probably 2 years, but I forget the raid on the Capricorn was the original PvP map. which kind of utilized like shit. Like there was like a ship in the middle, I believe. I'm trying to get this from memory, but had water surrounding it. And if you fell in, there were sharks that would probably, let's just say, nibble at your ankles. But in this, when they kind of moved away from having underwater combat in like PvP or even War We World so much, they kind of scrapped that. Well, it is now the revenge of the Capricorn. So I'm assuming they removed the water or turned it somehow. But interestingly enough, it's supposedly the map mechanic periodically adds a 4th capture point, which a team can get for extra points. So
yeah, raid on Capricorn was just retired because one of the middle point was an underwater point, and it required you to have underwater combat, which is not saying underwater combat is bad in Guild Wars 2. It's just that people don't like underwater combat in the general sense. So that's why I was retired. But now that middle point is now above ground. It's like all 3 points are on ground, so that's good. And map mechanics interesting. So every time it pops up, it adds like 25 points, I believe. So.
Oh, nice. And is it like just the same spot, or is it randomly placing? Like maybe like 3 other points or something that could pop.
I think it's like New Skyhammer. It's in the same spot.
Oh, okay.
You just have to go to it. So,
well, that's cool. That'd be interesting having people camp it. Like I think it's gonna pop now.
It's probably on a set time. I mean, when matches are 15 minutes long, it'll probably pop at like, let's say 2.5 minutes in, and then every 5 minutes
that is
after
important
that.
to say. It does just say periodically adds. It doesn't say randomly, so it might be every 5 minutes or.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
it's another capture point map. It's good because like mostly Legacy, Info, Fire, and Forest are mostly played. So it'd be nice to have a different map to play on.
And it's a good way to add to the mechanics of just capture point games. So, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it when it actually releases. Let's dive back into the trailer. So, like we said, the biggest thing is kind of that explosion at the end. And I did slow down the airship explosion, so here it is as slow as I can make it. I'm sure people could make it slower, but so what are you guys thinking? 'Cause especially with the episode 1 being called Out of the Shadows, because a lot of people have said like, oh, this is the White Mantle coming, out of like hiding and stuff, which I definitely think that that's gonna be a aspect. But I also think we did have before Heart of Thorns, the Shadow of the Dragon, all that stuff. I think it's also saying like we're moving out of Orgrimmar's reign of whatever, and so I think it's also
obvious.
double
I think it's
meaning
pretty
of that.
obvious what the explosion is. It's Lion's Arch. It's gonna get blown up again
Lion's Arch, huh?
because all the ley lines are gonna converge onto LA and then have one huge explosion.
if this is going to be related with the White Mantle, like everyone thinks it is, what if that's Divinity's Reach?
Whoa.
Yeah, that was actually my second, non-jokingly, that was actually my pick.
I mean, that's literally the biggest thing, and I know there's been a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people speculating about Jenna getting killed as part of this. And that would be, like, the main antagonist of the White Mantle is the Shining Blade. Shining Blade make it their duty to protect the Crichton royal bloodline. First thing they do to their old enemy is kill the person they're supposed to be protecting.
I would really like to know what Anise is going to be in all this.
Yeah, and then there's, I know we were talking about it in our little Twitter meeting convo. It's just like, and Tavik just brought it up in chat. Even if Jenna is somehow a Mesmer clone, as odd as that may be, if it's revealed that Queen Jenna has been a clone the entire time. How demoralizing! Like, what are the repercussions for Krita as a whole? That
Well,
you
and
suddenly reveal that they've been dancing to the tune of a puppet queen this entire time.
yeah, because I did bring up when we were talking about it during the week. I kind of on board. I like the idea that Jenna is a clone of Anis's, because I think the story is like they were childhood friends. It's like, so possibly maybe one made them up as an imaginary friend, and if you're a powerful mesmer, you got illusions, you can materialize your imaginary friend possibly. But
Wow.
in this, was it season 1 with Scarlet, when the queen gets knocked off the platform and she just disappears, like maybe that was just an illusion for protection, or maybe that's her covering it.
Jeez.
But honestly, if I was a niece as the actual queen, if I know I'm a target for things, why don't I put out this person that, oh no, this is actually the queen, and I'll be her protector as a powerful mesmer. Someone comes over and tries to assassinate the Queen Jenna, which is the fake, disappears, and then it's like, I could just imagine them having the dagger out and going, uh-oh, and just slowly turning around, and Niece is like, magical spirit bomb crap, like, brrr, like,
Well, that and
pulls
Hat
them into
brings up
Maelstrom.
a great point. Isn't it speculated that the big rock behind the throne in Divinity's Reach is one of the Bloodstones?
So a lot of people have speculated that. There's no confirmation over it though.
Yeah. So that's another possibility, and that's another reason why I'm like, that might be DR, with all of the magic getting released from one of the Bloodstones. And isn't one of the like classifications of magic like destruction or something?
Yeah, I'd have to look at it there, but yeah, it's. I like what chat's saying. First clue: Jenna walks around barefoot everywhere, and no one mentions her nasty feet. I'm guessing why is because she's a clone.
Well, that's one way.
Is that going to be season
she-
3? We have to check her feet.
She
The
got the
answer's in her
invisible-
feet.
She got the invisible boots from Maguma before we ever got to it.
Man, wait.
Uh-huh.
Can I kill her and get the loot? Like, I got a mini. I got like 8 mini Queen Jennas. Can one of those
Oh my
add up
God.
to a boot skin? Like,
RPG players in a nutshell. Can we kill them and take their stuff?
I feel like the invisible boots were just a thing Jenna made up, so that people went on a wild goose chase, just for her enjoyment.
oh, that is a good point. Chat's also saying Casimir also supposedly runs around naked with her illusionary clothing. If you remember from, I think she says it during the Nightmare Tower, which is season 1.
Mesmers just need to put on damn clothes.
Yeah, but seriously, I mean, come on. If you had the power, you'd probably try it. Like, I'm gonna give it a go. I better focus.
I'm sorry, it's not like, it's a little heavier, but when you're not put on unconscious, you won't lose your clothing or something like that.
Well, Casimir clearly doesn't have to worry about that. So,
Yeah, I'm also wondering. I'm trying to use the environment in the video to try to determine where it is, because during the spirit bomb hype part of it, it's like there's water underneath at the bottom. It just looks like it, and there's an airship flying around. So I'm thinking, where is a place where there's water and airships?
It's interesting you say there's water underneath of it, because I do have a theory. I know that's a shocker, but honestly, I'm gonna throw out a joke one right here, but I kind of please, internet, someone that's better at video editing than I am. I want at the end of that, the spirit bomb thing to dissipate, and a glowing Malik standing there.
God.
I want super Silvari Malik 3, please. And if that is in Living Story season 3, I'm gonna be like,
I think we're probably moving away with anything directly related to the Sylvari. We're probably going to deal with some fallout of people wondering about.
Mm.
Krista just brought up something from one of the things from the blog posts that we haven't gone over yet. The Pale Tree is apparently still kicking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible we'll deal with some fallout from the whole Mordremoth thing, like probably still some racial tension dealing with Sylvari.
Yeah,
like,
And it's pretty interesting.
but
Chat's also saying, is it water or is that the River of Soul, or the Soul River? Possibly the Maguma Bloodstone exploding. Well, now that we're back over the Maguma area, I kind of want to throw out my theory of, a lot of people are thinking this is after all, like, possibly what we'll see during the season. But I do want to say it does look similar to something that we had already seen, as even in this trailer. And that would be Traherne's explosion. And, wow, that glitched. One sec.
Didn't think about that.
Sorry about that, everybody. I didn't think that would
I'm
glitch.
gone. No. Oh, there I am.
you're okay, Age. You'll be fine.
But as you can see, the blue emanating from there, which is coming from that tree, which is also
true.
So it's
by
it's
the
like
water.
another kind of ley energy rupture of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the someone closer, which I want to say that's the important thing. If you look at that airship explosion, like the one with the airship, that airship model has been used 3 times. It could either be a packed airship, Ellen Keel's airship, which she stole from, and this is the third one, the Aether Blades. And this is where they got the model from the Aether Blades. Like, this is originally an Aether Blade model ship. What if it was kind of like, after all this aftermath and we're celebrating, but Aether Blades are capitalizing?
What? I'm wondering what they would capitalize on exactly.
Well, we do know the Aether Blade's made up by, what is it, bandits and Inquest.
Hmm.
So,
Who have both, and bandits are showing to be White Mantle, at least a large chunk of them, and Inquest have been trying to get.
or wait,
all
they're
this ley
Aether
line
Blade's
energy
pirates.
going.
No, I'm trying to think. I think they're the pirates. Sorry.
Pirates.
They're the pirates, yeah.
So yeah,
But
Yeah.
the other, if it's Pact or Aether Blade, I've never seen Pact or Aether Blade fly with just one ship. Even as we're limping stuff along after getting the fleet getting decimated by Mordremoth, you usually see 2 or 3 choppers or airships moving around.
that is a good point. But what if
So-
they're trying to move in stealthily? And now that we're talking about this, there is still one particular person that escaped. My Trin. She escaped.
Hmm.
So, what if, and she might know more about the whole, like, thing Scarlet was planning with the mist that we saw in World v. World at that time. And for people who don't know, during Season 1, when Scarlet was popping up in the Aether Blades, they were starting to appear through rifts in the open, in PvE, but also in World v. World. So, what if she's trying to capitalize on this ley line energy, or what if we have a return of My Trin? Which,
Nice.
who knows? Chaos Isles, new Fractal. What if we see a different My Trin thing?
I would honestly like to see more come out of the alliances that Scarlet set up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to see that. Like, I want to see that have a rippling effect. Like, I want to see, maybe not necessarily the Molten Alliance sticks around, because clearly the Dredge and the Flame Legion didn't exactly get along, but there might still be some small cells of it working. Toxic Alliance. I want to know what's going on with the Toxic Alliance, because what's going to go on with the Nightmare Court? Fowlin is dead.
I have another theory about that, because I was
You have
actually trying to
theories
get
for everything.
I was trying to get a thumbnail for this week's show, so I was gonna do Traherne at the end of Hearts and Minds with Mordremoth's like ghost eyes behind him, but it was just so dark for a thumbnail, like you wouldn't been able to see anything. But I picked Canuck, and remember, Canuck's not part of our. They didn't name him as part of our team.
True.
And if you do play Hearts and Minds with Canuck, and how he shot, like when he's facing himself and the Mordrim Canuck thing, saying how, you know, bow down to Mordremoth, he's your leader type thing, and at the end he says, I will follow no one, no one's my master, something along those lines. Kind of sounds like how Fowlin felt with the whole start of the Sylvari and the Pale Tree.
No, don't you say it.
Which, if you
Don't
think
you say
about
it.
it, Fowlin was kind of a side character to the original Destiny's Edge, like
I
because she
can't-
always had that thing with Kaith.
I can't say I can see Canuck taking over the Nightmare Court unless he's somehow turning them to be not Kick Puppies evil.
Which could be interesting if he was like chaotic, like what's the term? Like
Chaotic.
chaotic lawful, like
But like chaotic good or chaotic neutral,
Yeah.
if you really want to point it. Chaotic neutral is more you do things for yourself, not for any sense of the greater good, but you won't necessarily hurt others to do it. So Canuck's totally chaotic neutral. It's just, I think us, like the Pact Commander and our new group of people, whatever they end up calling themselves, because I don't know if they actually gave the result of that poll.
no, it's
yeah, this
actually that's a
season.
good point. It's gonna be told to us during this, supposedly during episode 1.
Good choice on their part not to reveal that, but I can't see him doing anything actively evil. Like if he was somehow trying to take control of power in the Nightmare Court and stabilize it, he'd be doing it purely for the fact that he'd want to give Sylvari, who want to be by themselves outside of the dream, a place to be safe.
Which,
Because
I mean,
that's what
technically, from
he's
a
trying
messed
to
up
do.
sense, that's what the Nightmare Court was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's just, they're Kick Puppies evil for whatever reason.
so it was just one thing I was thinking of when like I said, I was trying to get that thumbnail, but I had to get to like the end, and I was going through, and I was like, wait a minute. So it could be interesting with Canuck, since he is with us, but he's not in our group as of yet, supposedly.
Hmm.
Because how is he going to react now? Because technically he's under the service of Anise. So now that he's got this newfound, like, I'm going to be no one's, puppet, or, I'm not going to have a master type thing. And he's going to go
Submit,
back
Anise
to
is
Anise.
both.
Yeah.
Anise is pretty much both.
Anise is holding that pay bill or whatever that she got from when we captured him, and she's like, like, what's going to happen?
Like, Anise, can I go play with my Destiny Edge friends?
Clean your room. Can't you make a clone?
And
Sorry,
did
we're
the
going down a
dishes
weird
and walk
path.
the dog.
Yeah, and like also chat saying, like, with the larger explosion, maybe the end of the Pale Tree. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I hope not.
They're probably still alive, because I don't know what that would do for Sylvari as a whole, because they kind of have to keep Sylvari as a race, because that's a lot of work to
Yeah, I don't think they're going to
change.
remove Sylvar as a
So,
race.
well,
And
they kind of have to make it in a way, if she's like, they have to keep Sylvari intact in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know how they can change story to do that, to have impact, but
The one thing that I am curious about is something that Most Excellent Hat brought up a few minutes ago, is what's going to happen with the remaining Mordrim Guard? Did they just kind of keel over, story-wise?
it's
Are the
like,
Blighting Trees still technically active? Well, technically Ore is completely time-locked. So that
for
hasn't
now, at
changed
least,
yet.
yes.
Holy
Yeah,
shit, Red Wolf. You're right. It's possible that that's a ley energy explosion in Ore.
That's what I was thinking actually, because
Maybe, yeah.
because I was thinking straight to devastation with that explosion, but anyway.
Yeah, because I would say
Um,
it, I feel like it would have to be one of those like when we saw the map with all like the big pockets of ley energy. I feel like it's going to be one of those spots. Since
yeah.
like when I showed the Traherne explosion, it blew up from there, but then it traveled along like supposedly these lines. So I couldn't see it emanating from just a random like halfway through the line, unless there was some kind of supposed ley line energy kink in the hose. But I don't. I guess it's a possibility, but I would imagine be one of those pockets which could leave it open to Rata Novus, Rata Sum, Tarir. But I mean we saw the magic travel to Tarir, so it might be. But like you guys said, it seems like it's near water, so and yeah, it could theoretically be an ore.
Oh, there's a Bloodstone Straits of Devastation too.
That
Oh,
one's
jeez.
actually the Bloodstone and
This
Straits of Devastation is complicated because lore-wise, you do enter through the shards of ore in Guild Wars 1, and there is a vault there, but theoretically, the one that leads there, I think, is technically under um, Shiver Peak Mountains.
Hmm.
I do have a question because I didn't quite get to the end. What happens at the end after you kill Zera? Age, have you gotten to that part?
Oh, after you kill Zera, you descend into uh, you descend back down to the top of the Twisted Castle, and there's a room where there's like a mold where a human could fit in. I think that was where they were going to resurrect Lazarus.
Okay.
But other
So,
than that,
where were all of those bloodstone crystals coming from?
oh,
Did they ever say?
I think that was just Zera having a like a powerful mesmer influence, like summoning Bloodstone and things like that. But I'm not sure exactly if
That's something
that's
Mesmers could
tied
do?
to any. Well, it's an illusion fight. It's illusion based fight. So like all the platforms or something, things like that. So I don't know
Well, I know
if
that, but like,
I don't know if the Bloodstones themselves have any impact on story
okay.
whatsoever. But
Because it's just like they had towers that were, firing energy. I don't know if that was more illusion magic, so.
um. Yeah, I'm not sure. The only thing that was in that room was basically that mold, and there were actually 10 little like like mats, and like our group tried doing various emotes on it, but didn't do anything. But so I kind of sucked. But uh, that's all there was. There was like a mold for a human being and
So
some
Yeah,
definitely
bloodstone
going to be
armor
interesting
stuff.
stuff coming season 3. I mean, any other ideas, thoughts, theories?
Someone's gonna die.
Oh,
it's possible. It's definitely possible. I'm actually interested to see if they blow up another city.
Yeah. I'm gonna say two significant people will die this season.
so Logan's
What are you
safe.
betting?
Hey,
What-
I'm not gonna bet on anything till halfway because that's when I usually do that kind of stuff. So because with Living Story season 1, I did call out the right call, but it got leaked, so they changed it, and I'm kind of pissed about that still to this very day. But anyway, season 2, I didn't actually predict anyone would die, but Win actually dying was kind of significant in itself.
oh,
Um,
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, and season 3, it's I kind of have to see how the story's going to make predictions of how it's going to end. That's how a lot of people do it anyway. So I'm gonna just follow along right with them.
I'll say I do have one more theory. It's a with the airship explosion. I think since this is coming out with I think right around a balance patch, correct?
Hopefully, which I should talk about. Actually,
Maybe
Go ahead.
this is a hint that the Guardian bow skill is going to reflect all projectiles. Look, that blue bubble. Maybe that's like no, like you know.
No,
That's
we're not
so
where I'm
broken.
using the bow.
That's
That's the reflect. And look, it's still not reflecting a frickin' ship. Still doesn't reflect. I'm angry.
It
Anyway,
reflects rocks. It shoots rocks or something. I don't know.
but yeah, we're talking about Living Stories Season 3 coming out. But if you are interested in like maybe catching up with Living Stories Season 2, maybe before you buy it, like we said, it's going to be 40% off until then. ArenaNet is put out a post from July 15th through the 22nd. You can relive Living Stories Season 3 through some of ArenaNet's official partners. And I think actually today, it was at the start of the show, I think Aurora Peachy was actually doing one of the Season 2 episodes. But, it's like, I know Aurora Peachy's doing it, I know Bog, I think Inks, there's a whole list, I'm trying to remember most of them.
I don't remember Bootspur is going to do one.
And these are the ones that are just officially doing it, that are ArenaNet's official partners. Like, I'm sure there's loads of players, I think I think I'm going to be trying to do some Season 2 stuff working up to it, but I think next week we'll talk about possibly Season 3 stuff, so definitely tune in for that, so... But other than that, yeah, it's definitely check it out. Like if you're interested in that stuff, if you haven't picked it up, Season 2, and you want to get a feel for it, maybe you'll see some of the loot that'll drop from there and intrigue you to get it. Definitely check out ArenaNet's post, or more than likely, if you know one of your favorite YouTubers, streamers, or official partners with ArenaNet, they probably might, they'll probably be playing it. Or just follow ArenaNet's channel, because I think they're also hosting those people as well. So you might find a new streamer, YouTuber that you enjoy.
Yeah. The English ones are at 1 p.m. Pacific, if that helps.
Okay. Yeah, so for people, that's 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah. Awesome. Let's hop back to more stuff that was released this week. This is still lore stuff. Hey, I waited long enough, people. You let me have this one. So, notes from Rata Novus. So, if you aren't familiar with Heart of Thorns, during that, we kind of left Taimi there in Rata Novus, which was a new, an old Asuran structure that we discovered that looks similar to Rata Sum. And we have, so far, as of today, Saturday, two journal entries from her, which, if you're a fan of Taimi and you haven't read these, definitely read them, because honestly, I could not help it but to read them out in a Taimi voice. But I mean,
I totally agree. I read I have read both articles in her voice, and it was masterfully done. They were well written.
Yeah, we'll kind of talk about them both as a whole, just so it's easier for people not to get mixed up with like, oh, this was in part 1, this was in part 2. But like, what, as a general thing, it was like, I think part 1 was kind of Taimi slowly, almost felt like Castaway with Tom Hanks. Like, she was starting to talk to plants and rocks, and actually when part 1 came out, I saw a hilarious thing on Reddit. I unfortunately don't know the name, but they were like, we have a lore reason for the mini pet rock, because, it had googly eyes on the pet rock. So I was like, if they worked that in, I would chuckle about that. That'd be pretty good. But part 2, actually, people were other Asurans were actually starting to come into Rata Novus, so I guess news hit the rest of the world, and of course Asurans wanted to take credit for themselves. But yeah, what are your guys? What are some of the things that you picked out from both journal entries?
Taimi needs to friggin' sleep.
Yeah.
Like, Seriously, she needs to go to bed.
It's like a kid
So
that
I,
like it's like a kid that like goes to like camp or something like the first night. I don't have a bedtime. Like, and they're like, I can't sleep out of purpose.
I like what Hat said. I didn't know that was a Reddit theory that Wendell is actually a Dolyak, and that people and the others sort of look at her weird when she yells at him because he's actually a Dolyak.
That would be pretty good. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because I think during the first one, she actually starts talking about a plant, like a little plant or something sprouting through the ground. And I don't know if anybody else had this thought, but I was like, "Oh crap, Morgemother's still alive!" But granted, it was probably just vegetation growing. But you know, you can't trust anything. Dragon magic.
You could trust plant. Plants are
Oh yeah, that worked out well.
Actually, there's a few things. So, are we just gonna start with part one or part two or both?
Just go through each of them. Like I said, we'll just do both of them, just so we're not trying to be like, was that part one and part two?
Okay. So there was a few things. So there was Taimi found out that Brown's back in Holbrook. That was one thing that was just interesting to note locations of people where they are. Another thing was some of Sura still harbor a lot of animosity towards the Sylvari, which is important to note as you go into story. Another thing is that New Sylvari were born after the death of Morgemoth. That was the most important thing that I wanted to note, because I want to know what their mindset of that generation of Sylvari will be going into season 3. Those are the ones that actually point out a lot towards me.
Yeah, because she also brings up, like I think you were saying, like how Kaith went back to check on the egg and started questioning, or had a theory about Kaith's wild hunt, like, which we do know is, as far as we know, I mean, this is what's been told to us throughout the thing, is to defeat the elder dragons, plural dragons. So she's going back to the egg, which we are assuming is Glint's child and should be another dragon.
Was she included in that grouping?
It's important to note, since ours is, I think ours was initially to, they did change hers, I think, because I think at the very beginning hers was about dealing with one of the dragons or something like that, but they made it where it was like, okay, hers is actually defeating all the dragons.
Yeah, but was she, when they did the whole naming thing, when they kind of tacitly said this is what Destiny's Edge 2.0 is, was Kaith included?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if anybody knows that in chat, but I want to say yes.
I know Ritlock was explicitly included as one of the new members, because they kind of have to, since he's a revenant.
Yeah, and going back and playing, like I said, Hearts and Minds, and I am kind of curious to find out where he was at, because when you're going into the dream state with Morgemoth, he's like, I'm going to sit this one out. I've had enough of metaphysical places. I'm like, where were you? Like, so he definitely was in a different realm of, which I'm sure everybody knows, but it's like, what is... Tell me. So hopefully we tell him. Maybe that's episode 1. We're like, hey, you can't run with us unless we know some stuff. Like, we did this. That's fine. This was an emergency. We had to get stuff done. But now it's calmer. What's been going on? Yeah, I'm kind of curious where like Kaith's wild hunt is and where Glint's egg is in all this.
I'm hoping to actually get answers out of Kaith.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to just have a sit-down time. It's like, okay, Kate, tell us stuff. Just start, and if it's not useful, I'll just say skip, and you'll move on to the next thing, and then we'll just go from there.
So you do the same thing with Ritlock.
Same thing with Ritlock. Just sit him down and be like, hey, start talking. Just don't start somewhere and keep going.
Chat's saying maybe Kaith isn't really Kaith. Maybe before Glint died, she merged her mind with Kaith, and it's the Glint personality that's interested in the egg. Is everybody going to turn into a Revenant by the end of Guild Wars 2?
Well, that's another thing. Like, about the only time you're really going to get... I want to see Revenants get, like, weird dialogue options during parts of this. I want to see Ritlock going nuts, because it's like we're dealing with Glint's egg. He's very clearly channeling Glint.
I really hope they do something with that.
Get something.
I feel like they would definitely miss out on it. Or maybe because I've always said, like, everybody's saying Mordramoth's dead, but at the last second he was put into Traherne's mind. He's like, I'm taking him over, and that's why we had to kill him. But then the magic surges through him and spreads out in the world. It's like, what if there are still bits of Mordramoth, like, and what if one went into the egg? Like, what if, like, the Revenant touched it and was like maybe it was like that. I don't sense any type of, like, Glint-esque stuff in there, like.
But okay, I actually had a morning, like, thought process on that. Is that basically when we fought Mordramoth in Hearts and Minds, we were in Mordramoth's dream. So he basically has a brainscape that he uses as his way to jump between bodies, because much like Sovereign or the other Revenants, or the other Reapers, sorry, in the Mass Effect series, they could jump into the husks that were attacking you and then just kind of pop out. Like, anything that happened to that physical body, if it was dying, they just get the hell out of there. What we did at the end of Hearts and Minds was disrupt Mordramoth's dream.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't... And he was like, oh shit, I can't be in here as this thing collapses. So he pops to the nearest body that he could possibly inhabit that he thinks is going to be relatively safe. He doesn't think you're going to kill your friend. He doesn't think you have the resolve for it. He's been underestimating everyone, mostly because he's been whipping everyone else this entire time. So you stab Trahearne and you kill the body that he's in. Like, we were actually talking with Arlie, and it's like, yeah, technically Mordramoth had a body. The mouth of Mordramoth was his body, like the chosen form that he usually inhabited, but he was mostly an intellectual entity that could hop between bodies. He has no dream to jump out of Traherne's body to. So that burst of Leyline energy, you're right, Deo, there might be like fragments of him, like remnants, or what would at some point become legends, like
I'll
fragments.
Say remnants, more like revenants.
Well,
Sorry.
like, that's something like that would be what would create the Revenant legends. Like, a Revenant would be able to start channeling a fragment of Mordramoth. Like, that's all I think is left of him. So it's like, now they have literally a lore way to bring Mordramoth in as a Revenant legend.
That would be pretty cool.
But yeah, there could be, like, Mordrim Guard, like Hat mentioned earlier. What happens to the Mordrim Guard? Well, some of the more powerful Mordrim Guard might still be kicking around. They might still have some kind of insane shard of Mordramoth's mind whispering in the back of their skulls, telling them what to do, giving them some amount of power.
Mm-hmm.
Killing an Elder Dragon is not clean. It doesn't just, oh, hey, yeah, we're done, let's have a party.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I'm actually really interested how they're going to change the hot maps in terms of, because they still have to have meta events and so on. But I'm really curious how the maps are going to change.
I don't know if they're going to change the maps. They didn't do it for Ore.
Yeah, I'm not going to, like, not significantly, because the meta events are still tied with, like, that time
fighting the
locked
Mordrum.
phase of Heart of Thorns. But I'm interested in what extra things they can do with the map.
Right.
For Living World seasons, because or even actually the base game, what things will change, because they still have all those ley lines wisping here and there. So
Is Lion's Arch? Does Lion's Arch still have all the ley line wisps going everywhere?
I haven't looked in a while. I mean,
Okay.
I was legit joking about LA blowing up, but if it happens, I'm gonna just take that. I'm just gonna, yeah.
I'm gonna
It's
stand
not
over
like
my
it'll
reflect
surprise
wall and
us.
save everyone. Got to work on
It's
something,
either-
right?
I'm gonna say either LA, Divinity's Reach, or something in Aura is gonna blow up, if anything.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see like what happens, especially because it just seems like if anything is a clue from Taimi's notes, like I see us like maybe trying to catch up with Kaith because she went back to visit the egg. Supposedly Bram is back in Holbrook. She was like, "Oh, I really should, get out to go see him, and maybe catch up to see like, how you doing, buddy? How's everything?
Yeah.
And oh, go ahead.
Was she working on a communication device or something like that when she
Yeah,
mentioned
and she
about...
I forget the long name, but she was like Gate, like it was.
Yeah.
The acronym was GATE.
Yeah.
That I hope comes up later is long-term verbal communication through ley lines.
Is ArenaNet hinting at in-game feature of in-game voice over IP system? It'd be maybe interesting for pugs.
I hope not.
No, please.
Raid
please
pugging.
Don't. Please don't. No.
I've never seen that go over well. Ever.
I like how everybody's like, no, you're
like
a fool.
that was one of the first things I did in Overwatch is I disabled the in-game comms.
Yeah, I did too.
Because I can't. The first guy that was just like he had his mic on voice activation and all I heard was heavy breathing the entire match.
Ugh.
Every death screen I was like frantically searching through the options menus to disable the voice chat. But long range communicate cell phones interior basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be cool to like freak people out via ley lines, though.
Prank call people. Jeez. Weirdly, we did have that during Halloween. The golem, something they transmitted through the golem. They were trying to do the quest for releasing the prince. But anyway, before you open that bag of worms, any other ideas on Taimi's journal?
Hopefully Taimi's not insane when we get back in the story, or is it like not totally gone?
Yeah, I can imagine as one of the other locations, we're gonna go back and talk with her because she's talking about how she closed off that one section that was
that's important. I totally
dragons.
forgot
That and she kind of has to, like, since everybody else is kind of getting to this point, she kind of has to become the embodiment of the new of Destiny's Edge 2.0 Scrapper. And she hasn't yet, but that's mostly because she hasn't really been in the foreground of much for the Heart of Thorns storyline.
Well, she did talk about how she had to figure out a different way to do Scruffy in that journal, so maybe she'll have drones.
Scruffy 2.0.
drones.
Scruffy drones. That'd be amazing. And maybe a Scruffy hammer. Like she turns part of his
like his
workings
arm?
into a hammer.
Oh, the arm that one of the arms that grabs the circuit thing to complete it so he could save us all. Oh, I miss Scruffy.
He died for us.
I'm sorry if no one felt bad about that. Like they conveyed emotion through that robot. Like you saw it pause, and I was like, oh, it has a mind. Anyway,
If anyone's going to create actual AI, it'd be Taimi. So.
yes. But any other ideas from the Taimi journal? I think they said there was going to be more than just these 2 parts, right? I thought they said, I want to say 8. I thought they said 8 in the first one. Maybe that's
Well,
me just thirsty
the
for lore.
entries. Part 1 was entry 8, and
Oh,
part 2 is
okay,
entry
that's
9.
So
So
hopefully we'll have more. So yeah,
there
there
might
was no
be
definitive
1
way.
to 7 might actually be in the game when we actually get in there. That might be
Oh,
interesting.
yeah. That could be a nice little living story achievement. Um, let's move on to the WvW World, and this week we actually had another poll, and also the results are already in, so there's no speculating on this one. But it was a poll about WvW World repair hammers for basically for Siege. Should it be introduced on a trial basis? And it does require standard majority to go through. So it's not super majority, so it's not 75%. It's just they need, at least the, I guess would it technically be 51 point or 50.01, or does it have to be 51? I don't know.
It has to be 50.1. It has to be majority of the vote, pretty much. So 50.1 would win.
Okay. So the results are in, and it was 59.6% for yes and 40.4% for no. So that does mean the repair hammers will be added on a trial basis. And they did say a follow-up poll will be made to determine if they should become a permanent feature, which I think at the time they did say that one would possibly require a supermajority, which is the 75%.
Yeah, that'll be a supermajority.
Because they basically just want people to have them to actually, form a better opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
Before
So
they do that.
the repair hammers themselves, they repair Siege. So right now you have you go to a tricks and trap vendor, you buy a couple hammers. They should be part of if they're added in the game, they're going to be part of one of the World vs. World lines that you have to unlock to get it. But basically, the hammers are used to repair your Siege. So let's say you take a golem out into fight. It gets super damaged. You get out of there alive somehow via portal, what have you. You get out of the golem, you repair it, and you go right back in. So that's the benefit of having the repair hammer. I'm not sure how much repair hammers will be like. It says you have to have supply. I don't know if it'll be a certain number that you need to have a effect of how much you repair and so on, but I'm gonna have to see and how it goes.
My only thought is that it will probably overall cost you slightly less supply to repair something, but that takes you longer. You take longer to actually repair it back to full than just building a new catapult or trebuchet or what have you.
Yeah, because the way World vs. World works right now, it's usually you just have for Siege that stays in an area. It's usually you just use it for that one purpose. So it's either have arrow carts ready to defend something, or have trebuchets ready to defend something, or have trebuchets or you put down a catapult or a flaming ram to take a tower. That's your objective. That's your only objective. And if it's taken but it's not taken out by the time you come back and can get it again, you just use the same siege. Otherwise, you put down new siege. For golems, I think how people use it is just to quickly get bigger objectives, but I'm not sure how long they last for. I think they put them back at spawn or something, but I honestly don't know where golems are concerned. But
I don't know. I actually found the golems are really fun to use in a fight. That's probably going to be where the repair hammers have the most effect.
Yeah,
is supporting golem teams. Just you have a bunch of people falling around behind with hammers, and a golem falls back when they're really heavily damaged, and the repair hammers get to work. Unless you can't repair them if somebody's in it, that might be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how it'll go. I voted no just because I don't see a positive impact for it, but I could be wrong. I mean, this trial will give us a way to
Yeah,
see, but
it was definitely close. I mean,
It.
like some of
I
the
suppose it would.
oh god.
I suppose it would make more of a difference if destroying. Oh, they already said that you can only repair a golem if no one's in it. Well, there you go.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the one thing that I'm looking at, I'm like, it might matter more if destroying siege engines actually meant something other than you just destroy the siege engine. Like, you can't use a siege engine not put down by your team. You can't flip a siege engine. So
it's going to be interesting how. I would definitely say you can't be. So no one has to be using the siege engine to repair it, the siege weapon to repair it. But it's also interesting because you also have those. What's it called? Shield generators. I think that's the name. Where you can put down bubbles of defense, you put down walls and stuff like that, and that can help protect while you're repairing siege. It'll be very interesting to see what World vs. World guilds do with them. Because I
unless
think,
maybe
yeah.
the only thing I think that might make them a bit better is if destroying siege engines gave you world score. Or you could salvage supply from destroying a siege engine. Like, you have to give a reason to not want your siege weapons to be blown up, other than they're not there anymore.
The only reason you would want to repair it is because you're continuing an assault. That's the only reason I can think of.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
then
I would say it's definitely interesting because I would like to see one that was like the ability to almost like pick one back up or something.
to
Just because
reclaim
that makes it more enticing to destroy them. Because I do like how you're saying there needs to be a reason for it, but my worry is like if you actually got like points towards for destroying siege, a lot of people that have spy accounts used to waste supply and make siege randomly, and if they put them out in a location, they're like, oh, we can go, guys, go over there and farm it. So I definitely would say that could be bad, but I do like the idea of trying to figure out a way to make it so you want to keep those alive more so than
you do get world versus world experience for killing siege. It's just
right.
That's the only really incentive.
But yeah, like
to make sure they don't use it again.
That was the other thing I was thinking, Dea, that you brought up, is being able to somehow pick siege back up and move it. Like that would also be something that would be nice to do. So I don't know, maybe if they actually implemented some kind of vehicle combat, because I mean, a lot of siege weaponry you can move around, so maybe if you could move.
Well, you still have the bikes there, the char bikes, but they're just really expensive to make, and they're really strong too.
World v World upgrade, you can strap it to one of those really tough Doliacs that are transporting transporting the supplies. Have like a trebuchet hanging off the back, and you literally walk along that path. You're just shooting things along the thing. Like that'd be drive-by trebuchet. Uh-oh.
That did not sound good.
No, it's
Where's the lock?
Parts of a desk fell apart.
Oh.
Krista's cleaning her desk, so.
Any other thoughts on the PvP poll? Like, hopefully we get to, did they say when they were implementing it? Is it going to be the next update?
I would say next update would probably be the best idea, because
it doesn't.
Also,
say...
I think they. Probably next update.
But yeah, hopefully we get to see how it'll work. How, possibly people cheating the system, so we either get the bugs squashed or realize that this isn't a good mechanic. And hopefully we get to see more about that. The vote for the permanent feature of it. Also in Warby World, popped up from Chris Barrett, who is a gameplay programmer for ArenaNet, and they were talking about an issue that's been happening. It seems like, I guess, for lower tier servers, which they referred to as Glicko Hell. I just like that. That sounds fun. But so if you don't know the Glicko rating, I think we talked about in the past, revolving around PvP, but now with the tier 3 matching, or not tier 3, but the tier matching and stuff like that, they use Glicko rating for that as well. Apparently, I think they said it was for lower tiers, like, what was it, around tier 3, tier 4 has been seeing this issue of basically they get into this weird cycle of the Glicko rating and how it calculates is like working against them, so they get caught in, like, you know, even if they win, they didn't win by enough, so their score goes down, but now they're lower, so they win to go back up, and it, you know,
they can never
repeats.
Actually progress their score.
Yes.
Mm.
So I mean, anybody out there that has been experiencing on their servers or in chat or, you know, watching this on YouTube, definitely, I'd love to hear you guys chime in on this. But I mean, yeah, they definitely said it's like middle tier, lower tier worlds. So I know for Yax Ben, I think we're still tier 2, and then I know Age, you're on Blackgate, so you're still tier 1. So I mean, have you guys noticed like maybe more people trying to get into these tiers, like to maybe avoid the tier 3, tier 4 issues?
I notice people play like a more roaming centric style in the lower tiers, and people want to, like, basically, the more people you want to play with in World versus World, the higher tier you'll be, I guess, is the best way to put it. I did notice that matches are a lot more interesting in tier 1, just because there's a lot of fluctuation in who's in first place or not. Like at the beginning, it was, for the past 2 weeks, it was usually Blackgate, but then either Dragon Brand or Tarnished Coast took a small lead, and then like Dragon Brand would somehow have a huge lead and something like that. It was very interesting how World vs. World has changed. It was very interesting. So for the lower tiers, I actually don't know, because usually lower tiers have a lot more roamers or roaming-centric style of play. I think it's around T2, T3 people do that, but I don't know. There's still probably a lot of guilds or groups of people who still like that Zerg-centric style. It's just not strong enough to climb higher, or it could be this Glicko rating that actually is affecting them to be able to move up or down a tier. So
It's one of the things I also wonder is that if you're stuck in like a lower tier server, if you're seeing the same matches over and over again and you don't have as many people playing, and like you're saying, the more people you play, the higher your server rank is going to get, generally speaking, because you have more people striving to actually play the game type. So you've got all of these low servers that just don't have enough people to play WW. So that's why they get stuck. So that's probably also an issue, because there's no incentive to go to a lower tier server for anybody. There's no reason to do it. Which I think is another issue with WW, is that, you know, once the top tier servers are stacked, what gets people to the lower tier servers? What spreads everybody out evenly so you actually have people to play with?
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully this seems like it's another thing that's like working against the whole tier structures. Is now Glicko, you know, the Glicko issue. So hopefully, yeah, they can figure out a way to spread out things and make it stay spread out and interesting. Because yeah, like you said, once the dust settles, it just becomes stagnant in the placings. Like there might be one or two things where it'll change, but it's nothing major. Like it's not going to change up. A bottom tier server is not going to become a top tier server because of a mechanic or, you know, a system change. It's going to be, oh, maybe guild on Blackgate or something was like, well, we're going to go into a lower tier to show our World v World expertise and better queues. And, you know, we've seen that happen where certain servers will, World v World population will die because people will move off it or people will move to it to raise it. So who knows? Well, hopefully they'll find out a way, and hopefully we'll get more people in with all these World v World changes that are coming out. So moving from World v World to more personal PvP. So Josh Davis gave a kind of brief update on the goals for PvP leagues, and kind of just basically seems like it has boiled down to they wanted to improve match quality, make divisions more reflective of player skill, and make leagues feel more rewarding after you placed in your appropriate division. So, I mean, do these all sound like good goals? Like, do you think there should be more goals, or maybe change some of the goals? Or
match quality is actually a really big one, because it's a problem a lot of games have. But Guild Wars 2 in particular, it's kind of weird how it works. And especially in unranked, where I feel like it's just totally random with your opponents. Like, legit, I feel like half the time I get a person who's starting PvP for the first time, and then there's also someone on that team who has legendary backpiece. I don't know how it works that way. I don't think MMR should deteriorate to that kind of rate if that's the case, but for ranked itself, it is a little better, but it still does need work in terms of class stacking, in terms of actually some people don't necessarily have the same skill as some other people. I noticed that for sure. I mean, I went against an ESL player this season, and I got destroyed. Like, every time that person saw me, because I was on Thief, every time, and that person was an enemy Thief, and every time that person saw me, I just got wrecked. And there were 2 Revenants also on that team. I don't know if they were ESL players a lot, but they were good, and they just destroyed any team fights I came up to. I'm like, how did you die? And like, oh, they just all destroyed you, and then now they're going to destroy me. And so it kind of, like, no one wants to feel that way.
Age, I bet he was stream sniping you. He was scared of you. I challenged that guy
was
one-on-one
not
with
streaming.
Age. One-on-one with Age. Oh, you weren't streaming?
I'll lose. I'll probably lose.
I kind of wanted to say that to just start to see Age go, no.
No, please no. But definitely match quality in terms of class stacking and getting the right groups of people together, and also solo versus group players. That's also a big issue, because since there's no solo queue at all, make divisions more reflective of players' skill. I totally agree with that, because I feel anyone could get to Ruby with enough determination. Anyone can get to Ruby. Deo can get to Ruby. I believe in you.
I was going to say, that would be an interesting challenge for me, but I don't think I could PvP that much to, like...
Yeah, it's like, anyone can get to PvP, it just depends how much time and effort you want to put in. Like, if you... That's one thing.
I just want to touch back on your whole thing about the issue with matchmaking is like I'd play unranked PvP matches just for fun on my Ranger, and I just went in with the little YOLO longbow shortbow build just because that's what I did, because it was just me having fun because it was unranked, and I tried Stronghold for the first time. This is maybe like a week after Hot released. And I step in, and I immediately, the second I step out of spawn, get juggled by 2 thieves using the elite from Daredevil. Yeah, and it's just like, I'm done with PvP for a while, because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get away from them. I couldn't stop them. It was just one of those things. But it was very clear they were working together, because they were too coordinated otherwise. So that's definitely something crazy there. But I don't know. Like it feels like matchmaking. You need the two separate MMR. You need two separate MMRs, and they need to completely not influence each other. Like ranked MMR should be ranked MMR. There should be no decay. Unranked MMR should be unranked MMR, and there should be no decay. Your decay is when you lose, basically.
Okay. I could. Yeah.
Because clearly, if you stop playing for a long period of time and jump back in, you're probably going to lose, and then you're going to drop an MMR, and then you're going to get placed differently, and then if you're still rusty, you're going to drop an MMR, and then you're going to meet people that you're still, you're average with, and then if you beat them and you start shaking the rust off, you're going to climb back up. It's how the system's supposed to work. If something changes and you're not as good with it anymore, you either get better, you change something, or that's just where you're going to sit.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on the topic of make the divisions more reflective of player skill? Because chat's like saying, if you want to make the skill reflection accomplish that, you got to kind of remove all the passive RNG. Which, to be fair, yes, if you did that, all the procs on the stuff, that would be pure skill based. The important thing to note is they are saying make the division more reflective. So in reality, MMO PvP revolves around builds of procs and stuff like that.
Well, that and procs in Guild Wars 2 are 100, or generally speaking, 100% on a cooldown. So you can say, hey, they did a thing, and if it's and I'm not talking like you bleed someone when you crit them. That's not a proc that you really do anything around. What's the one acrobatics one where you gain evasion, Age?
Gain evasion? You mean when you hit 50% health?
That's it. There's an acrobatics trait where when you hit 50% health, you gain evasion for a few seconds. That's the stuff you play around. That's a proc. It's not RNG. You know what triggers it. So you have to play around it. Basically everything in Guild Wars 2 is like that.
I don't think RNG is the major problem with making divisions more reflective. I think it's just the divisions, how they work, it doesn't make it more reflective. Because like I said, because of how the system works, I think anyone can get to Ruby. The real challenge starts when you're trying to get to Diamond or Legendary, because you can lose pips when you lose games. You can drop tiers when you lose games.
So basically what you're saying is make it so that you can lose pips and tiers everywhere.
I wouldn't say everywhere. I would say maybe Amber and Emerald.
Well,
Emerald,
that's the thing.
Because I want a barrier of entry type of deal for players that are just starting into PvP. So if they want to play ranked, you need level 20 to get into ranked, but still, I think you still
that's what I got.
Might need a bit more experience into the rank system. So having Amber as that feel good, it would be a decent start.
And I know chat is saying, back to the comment of gotta remove the RNG stuff. And they say it wasn't in Guild Wars 1. There was very little, but that's also because Guild Wars 1 had a very basic trait system. You just put points in a trait line, and there was no added bonuses, which maybe, remove those from PvP if you want to go that route. But there were procs. I mean, you unlocked inscriptions and all that stuff from playing PvP, or if you played the PvE experience, when you unlocked one of the armor upgrades, you would unlock it for your PvP as well. Yeah. So there were procs, but I'm definitely saying not as much as Guild Wars 2.
What is?
I'm assuming you mean the Nightmare Court runes, QED.
So at 50%. So the Nightmare rune is where T6 you fear, I think, when you get hit or when you hit 50%. I forgot which.
It's probably 50%.
Yeah, it's something you play around. I mean, once you get hit once with it, you can't, and that class doesn't have fear or doesn't have access to fear, and that way or doesn't animate fear in that way, you know, like there's probably some passive rune. It's not really random if you know what the rune does.
50% chance when struck to cause fear for 1 second. Cooldown
Yeah,
60
and then its
seconds.
cooldown's like a minute, so you can play around that. I mean, I really don't, honestly don't fear RNG reflects a player's skill in terms of division. I really think it's the way divisions are laid out. I
A
mean,
lot of those procs are basically treated like another utility skill. They have similar cooldowns. Like that's a 1 second fear on a 60-second cooldown.
yeah.
And it's really like when you get to the higher tiers, it just feels like that's more because those are the better players and they can capitalize on that 1 second of why is my character running away better than people at lower divisions.
Yeah, it's knowing how to play around things basically. If you know the profession you're playing on and what it can handle, what it can't handle, you can play around a lot of things. But anyway, that's
The other thing that they were talking about, like I think you mentioned earlier, is class stacking is an issue.
yeah, yeah.
I know. Overwatch actually, they said that the next competitive season is going to say you can only have one character per on a team.
Which is good. And
yeah, running against an all-May team is a pain in the ass, but that is something completely different from right now. But going off of Guild Wars 2, they could totally implement a system like that. The only problem is for solo queuers. If you implement a 1 per, that's going to screw with queue times.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying 1 per. I'm saying if you're queuing as an elementalist, you could say, hey, maybe you don't want to put like 4 elementalists on the same team. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but that's basically it's the same thing, but on a different side. It'd be a constraint in their matchmaking system.
That's true.
So it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's what their system is doing. And technically, if you have everybody solo queuing, I was doing a little bit of math in the background, with 9 classes and 5 people on a team, there are a little over 15,000 team compositions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not saying that's always going to happen because there's always those classes that don't do fantastic PvP, but it's there. But and QED, you were talking about queues and queue issues when you push the upper tiers in any PvP system is always weird because you are literally the smallest percentage of people queuing up. So you're always going to have queue time issues. Hell,
do you think they might have a different rule set for some of the tiers? Like maybe once you get legendary, since kind of like what QED is saying, it's so minute, maybe then don't say you have to have 1 of each or no more than 2 or 3 of each or something, because it's gonna make it where it's like, I had like I had my day off of work or something, spent 8 hours, played 1 game of PvP, woo, like.
Well, that's the thing is any system is stressed once you hit the extremes. There are always going to be bugs and breaks in the system when you stress it to the absolute limits. Legendary 1, 2, 3, whatever players are those extremes because you are literally the top 0.01%, I think is the breakdown of it. So when you're up there, there's not many other people that they're going to match you with, and you're not going to be very satisfied if, like, over the course of matchmaking, they slowly start expanding the MMR window for you to be matched up against, and then you get, a division down, 2 divisions down, and, I don't know, I can't recall off the top of my head what the divisions in Guild Wars 2 are, but you start fighting players that are very clearly not your skill level, you're not going to enjoy it. Because you're just going to be like, dead, cap, and it's just boring.
That's boring. Yeah.
So that's exactly, and I don't like stomps. I don't like being on the receiving end of a stomp. I don't like being the team giving the stomp because it's not fun. And I'll have fun with games where I win, where it's 450 to 500, even if I lose, because it's interesting. And that's the problem that you have with people at the top end of the queue, that it's difficult to really create a system that works for them and works for everybody else at the same time. So that's where you have to look, okay, where's the majority? The majority is the lower tier people, so you have to code the system generally for the lower tier people and then start making the exceptions for the higher tier people.
Yeah.
And that's why matchmaking is so hard.
Yeah. I should clarify what I meant by class stacking. I mean, in an ideal world, yes, I would like maybe a one hero select type of thing, but I know that's not the case with Guild Wars 2 PvP. What I meant by class stacking is, like, ideally you should look for one hero types, but if you can't, yes, go back to like the old method. Have 3 people stack these if you must, but like as long as like the queues aren't exceedingly long because of it. That's what I meant. And then people will have to decide for themselves if they swap to a different character or not.
Like maybe have the system try to only have a duplicate of one profession.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And then, like the exceptions would be if people are queuing as a group, whatever their group comp is, that's what they clearly chose to queue up as.
Yeah, that's fine.
And how we're all basically bouncing these ideas back and forth, it is important to note that they did say it is unlikely these changes will be added for Season 4 of PvP Leagues, which is going to be the next one. So it kind of just seems like they're giving us information of, this is what we want to do. Now we're now throwing around ideas to see, what's possible. So hopefully we're going to see more of these ideas, down the road, materialize more. So, any other thoughts of the PvP leagues?
I will be here forever, so I'll just stop.
Age has thoughts, but
Well, we can always talk about them during after show, which is why everybody should show up if they can every Saturday. Interestingly enough, Gemstore stuff. I think this is like the first time ever, or in a long time, I don't really have screenshots for it because there isn't much visually to show. But, as always, thank you to Dolphy. Go check out dolphy.net. She has a bunch of the information about Gemstore stuff, news, stuff like that. But there are she does have screenshots up there, but you'll see in a minute why there's not much to show off. But definitely check out dolphy.net so you can spend your gems wisely. So first up, the Unbreakable Gathering Tools, which you're probably like, yeah, we have those. What's special about these ones? What's special about these ones?
They're not special at all.
Yeah, that they're not special. The uniqueness is that they're not unique. So weirdly, you have to get these ones in a bundle. So you can get the Simple Axe, the Simple Sickle, and the Simple Pick for 2,400 gems. And if you do the math on that, that basically comes out to 800 gems a piece, which is normally 200 gems less than one of the other mining, gathering tools. But the thing about these there are no special effects on them. They kind of just act like the ones like an orichalcum pick or something like that, where it can mine anything. It's just not going to use up. There's no charges like attached to it. Like you're not going to ever lose it unless you delete it or something. But
I'm honestly surprised they didn't create these a long time ago.
yeah.
I would like a non-bundle of these, actually.
Yeah, especially since they came, like, when they initially made the bump from 800 to 1,000 when they made them a compound. I am surprised it maybe didn't happen then or right around then.
I'm honestly, I think it's cool that they have them as a bundle, but I'm actually surprised that they're not for sale individually.
Yeah, me too.
I'm fairly certain they'd probably make a lot more profit off of gems if they were all individual, though I wonder if they're trying to keep away from, like, low-cost Gemstore items that are big-ticket things because of the increased gold influx with the April update to the game.
Yeah.
So, like, if they were 800, there's probably a bunch of people who, like, every week they buy like a certain amount of gems with their gold, and
Yeah,
it's
maybe
just
they're
like,
like every week I'll throw in like 20 gold, no matter how many gems I get, and
right.
So yeah,
Like, there was a while ago, I was doing 5 gold every Friday, just to slowly build up gems for anything that I might want.
hmm
So that would
But
be the only problem I could see with it.
I'm wondering if this is maybe the future of. I think we talked about it last week or the week before, but almost like a gathering tool wardrobe. Because I think I even said in the past, like, I would probably be more willing to buy some of the other skins if, if I didn't have to pay 1,000 gems for it. Which, if it's a difference of 200, I could probably see people throwing 200 for a gathering skin.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have mine, I'd probably get this because I don't really care too much about the special effects. I just want the infinite part.
I would trade these in instead of, like I said, my second set that has the freaking Jack in the Box clown thing. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I
you
think it's
get your
annoying after a
600
while.
gems back. Was it 600 gems? Because it's 200 gems per.
Yes. Yeah.
And QED, no, I don't think anybody's said anything about the Phoenix Glider yet
Right.
or
No.
again.
I'm really surprised that that was a limited thing.
A very limited thing. They didn't even do a week.
Very limited.
As brings up the clockwork pick, because I wasn't going to, because that's what happens when I bring it up to Deo. But that was
Pay to win. Burn a
it was totally by accident. It was the first pick that came up. It was actually the first mining pick, the first infinite pick that came up after I started playing the game again. And I just thought it was like a nice, oh, well, this is nice. These things can't be worth all that much. No, they're a stack's worth 7 gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much anger.
2 days, yeah, exactly 2 days. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that was kind of silly, especially with the number of people that thought that the Phoenix Glider was awesome. Like, why would you only keep that up for 2 days?
Well, and especially it was gone before we talked about this, like when they did it, but it was
Right.
on their guild chat, and they had the guys that did the Foley work for it, which, like, honestly, like, I was on the fence about it, but hearing how much effort they put into it, like the guy was throwing around fireballs in his backyard, like, hey, you win me there. Like,
Yeah.
And then I saw so many people in their chat going, like, oh, I want to go buy this, and then a couple seconds later, it's not in the gem store. Like, I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're like, yeah, we don't want money. Like,
Yeah, that was a very poor. Like, you really shouldn't showcase something when people can't buy it anymore.
yeah.
So
Hopefully that does make a return. But another thing that came out this week was the Black Lion Keys and Scrap package. For 900 gems, you get 2 Black Lion ticket scraps, and that's important, scraps, and 10 Black Lion chest keys. Limit of 2 per customer, and I think it only is here for a week. So I think it's gone Tuesday.
how much is a set of 5 keys? 450?
450, yeah. It's better to get, if you're not going to get the 25, if you're not going to get the 2500 gems key bundle, you should get the Black Lion Key scrap package because it is more beneficial to get this because you get 2 guaranteed scraps plus the normal amount of keys.
Right. So you get 10 keys, which is 2 purchases of the 5, so it's the same amount of gems plus the 2 guaranteed scraps. So
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
are any of you guys considering picking it up, or even Chad? Like,
I would if I did.
I
I
think
probably
Chad,
would if I did because they're just a little bit of 2. So
Yeah, I think
If-
Chad
if
said
I-
got a total of 7 scraps, and other odds and ends made about 16 gold. So,
If
Yeah.
if I had the money to throw at it, I'd maybe. I mean, it's not a bad deal. I mean, it's a smaller version of the other package they have, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
I just-
I think that's the thing. If you're planning on were planning on maybe buying 10 keys, you're basically getting 2 Black Lion ticket scraps for free.
Yeah.
So
It's actually beneficial. Actually, no, it is beneficial to get 2 of these plus the 5 keys for 450 because it'll be cheaper than the 25 keys bundle. Plus, you get 4 Black Lion scraps.
I know what you're talking about. I'm working on Howler myself, so I understand that line of thinking.
Good.
I don't know. Like, I'm not really enticed by the Black Lion tickets right now because the only thing I can buy is, what was the last set?
The compound ones.
One. Yeah, like that's all I can buy right now because they're going to remain 1 ticket, and I have a ticket sitting in my bank, and I'm just like, don't really want that, so I have to wait for the next set.
Yeah, there's no harm in sitting on it because if it's going to stay 1 ticket, might as well see what the new ones are that are going to be 1 ticket.
Yeah.
But that's all for the Gemstore stuff. Jim, do you have a question for the people for the question of the week?
To be honest, most of my time was spent thinking and speculation about what the hell is going on with that explosion at the end, and we went over a great deal of that. So, everybody in the comments, just throw your speculation in. Like, what do you think the explosion means? Do you think it's Divinity's Reach? Do you think it's Lion's Arch again? Because I don't think anybody would be surprised by Lion's Arch blowing up again. So, there you have it.
Oh, thank you.
What's the explosion?
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, really, what's your theory on the explosion, and how quickly can you relate it back to Abaddon? I think that's the most important. But, so, Jim, where can you be found?
I can be found on Twitter, @MalthanusMMO.
And Age, where can you be found?
Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, @AgeNightRoad.
And you can find me at @simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. And you can find us each week. If you're watching this over on our YouTube, we put this up on YouTube. If you're popping at the last second, I do see that Roy Peachy did throw us a host at the very end. Thank you for that. If you were watching this at the very end, we do put this up on YouTube. Just search Talking Skritt. We're usually the first one that pops up. That goes up there Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and chat saying 7 degrees of Abaddon. Yeah, there you go. Play 7 degrees of Abaddon in the comments section on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, we do this live every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We're not doing it at 1 a.m. I'll show you that. But also, we are gonna maybe over these next couple episodes trying to roll out more. We will also be. If you're more of a Twitch viewer of things, we are gonna start highlighting these on Twitch so you can watch them through that way. We did kind of do a little practice with last week's, but we're gonna kind of have thumbnails and everything for episode 80 and on, and we're gonna try to roll out more things to be more engaging with the community and more ways to view or listen or all those things. So definitely stay tuned, and as always, see you in the game. Good night, everybody.